त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ नमः शिवाय, ॐ नमः शिवाय, ॐ नमः शिवाय, ॐ नमः शिवाय। त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्वी नावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Good afternoon. Summer is over. You're relieved from the heat. So rainy season also brings its own trouble, traffic jam. Yeah, today we shall learn something about divinity of human being. Please see page number 55. The first quote in the page: man is the best mirror, and the purer the man, the more clearly he can reflect God. Also, please see the quote on page number 54, the first quote. Each soul is potentially divine, The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas or rituals or books or temples or forms are but secondary details. Each soul is potentially divine. I think I already said this. We're all tomorrow's Buddhas. There's a Buddha inherent in every one of us, but we have to manifest that Buddha. That Buddha is latent in us. It's not fine, full expression. So the goal of life is to give full expression to that Buddhahood in all of us. When we attain to that Buddhahood, there's nothing more thereafter to achieve. Okay? No seeking, no want, no desire will be left thereafter. You have become fulfilled. Janma safalyam ni పొందే ఉంటాం. There's nothing more to achieve. Sorry, there's nothing more to aspire for. No struggle. Swamiji beautifully says, there cannot be peace in a struggle, right? Today, the way we are conducting life, like a battle, it's all. You can't expect to have peace in a battlefield. Okay? The battle must cease. So the battle is going on. We think actually we are fighting with the external forces, external nature. But basically, we are fighting with our own mind. But we don't understand that. You just see the nature of the mind. We satisfy one want, it creates another. We satisfy that want, it creates another. We satisfy that want also, it creates another want. It will never get satiated or satisfied. Something rather creates this craving. So putting out the cessation of craving or cessation of desire is what Buddha calls as nirvana. So of course it's a long struggle, but it's worth undertaking it consciously. The same thing is Swamiji is echoing here. Each soul is potentially divine. The divinity in all of us, but it is a potential state that we have to manifest it now. How can we do that? He's saying here, do it either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy. Work means unselfish work or work with detachment. Every one of us is doing work, right? But the nature of the work is it entangles us. When you do work with expecting the fruits of your action, it entangles us, it binds us, it creates bondage, it pushes us into Maya, right? It brings rebirth. So the cycle continues, birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. This is called transmigration, samsara. So the goal of this culture particularly is a freedom. Freedom means mukti, liberation. So how you will attain that? When you do work with detachment, without expecting the fruits of action, you don't care for the result. You're a master of your action. You work like a hero. When you cultivate this kind of attitude and engage in your work, the works that you they won't bind you. In fact, even to become successful in life in this mundane world also, the best way, the best attitude towards work is this. The lesser you are attached to the fruits of action, the greater your ability to work, the greater efficiency and performance in your work will come only when you don't set your mind on the final result or outcome. When you actually are focused on the result or outcome, automatically there will be fear. What if I don't get? Okay, then the fear that all my effort might go in vain, all my time and energy might go waste. This kind of fears will creep into our mind. Suppose you are totally free from the outcome of, you don't concentrate on that, you don't care for that, you just see the freedom. Okay, your ability to walk will get enhanced significantly when you are free from the result. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita also it is a karmani vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. The Lord says there to Arjuna, you have the right to work alone, but not to expect the fruits thereof, O Arjuna. Don't work like a slave, be a master of your action. Krishna says to Arjuna, this is the secret of work. If you do work like that, you will become free, you will become Buddha. Because that's how you have to practice. That is work. Swamiji is talking about here worship. Worship means worshipping the Lord. How you do that? Through regular puja, some ritual. Why should we worship the divine? Surrender. It's the ego sense which is actually creating bondage. Once you drop the ego sense, I or aham we call, the mind disappears. When the mind disappears, again you are nirvana. So to kill the mind, to annihilate the mind, so you have to drop the ego sense. To drop that ego sense, we surrender ourselves to the divine. It is there in every culture. In fact, the word Islam means surrender, right? Total surrender to the divine will. Not my will and divine will. Everything happens only by the will of that Supreme who is running the whole universe. Most of the time the friction in our lives is because of this. Our will comes in conflict with the divine will, but there is only one will that prevails. Okay, you expect things to happen in such some way, but things have happened in a different way. Now actually that is the source of pain, right? But if you have surrendered completely to the will of the divine, everything happens by his will, so you don't care what is the outcome. So that is called worshipping the divine. Through worship also you can achieve this self surrender. Through karma also, action also, you can achieve that when you work with detachment. And Swamiji is talking about here psychic control. Psychic control means mind and prana are connected. So by controlling prana you can control mind. This is called raja yoga. But this is a kind of science. But to practice this you need to learn it from a guru who has become an adept in that practice, Raja Yoga. And of course, there are so many conditions for this. Yama Niyamas, if you have studied Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, you have to practice asteya, you have to practice self-control, you have to practice truthfulness. There are conditions. So only when you fulfill that conditions, you can take next step. It's called Ashtanga Marga. 8 steps are there. Yama Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, like that. Last stage is Samadhi or Nirvana. So, but you can learn it only from a guru and you can't just experiment on your own. But the first thing, Karma Yoga, detached action, and the Bhakti Yoga, surrender to the will of the divine, and that we all can practice it. And the last is philosophy. How can we become perfect through philosophy? Uh, Yesterday also I told you. So, how to look at the world? So, superimpose God on everything you see. Either you completely negate the world, or when you touch the world, just superimpose God on everything you see. Then you don't make a distinction because it's everything one God's creation, right? Only one God has done this. So this is good, this is bad, this is superior, this is inferior. This I like, this I don't like. No, no such classification. Maybe in some people, good people, bad people are not there. They are there. Who are the bad people? In whom actually divinity there is not finding full expression. In whom the expression of the divinity is a little dim. Let us like say, bad guy is 5-watt bulb. A good man actually is like 20-watt bulb. That's the only difference. 5-watt and 20-watt. In an individual where there is a greater character excellence, greater manifestation of love and compassion, truthfulness and honesty, we get attracted towards such people. We consider them as noble individuals. What is happening there? The greater expression of the divinity we see. In a selfish individual, in an individual who is, extremely self-centered, the lesser expression of the divine, but it is divine. So you don't make any distinction between this individual and this individual. Rather, you take sympathy on this individual who is actually expressing less of divinity. Okay? When you don't make any distinction between such individuals, you will be able to love all equally. So this is actually attaining to truth through philosophy, where you superimpose God on everything you see. Through that, actually, you'll go beyond the mind, because mind is made up of pairs of opposites. When you transcend the pairs of opposites, mind gets dissolved. When mind gets dissolved, you attain mukti or freedom. You are Buddha. So shall we try for that Buddhahood? Hmm? Thank you. Nice afternoon.